All right, let's jump right into a really powerful, maybe even counterintuitive idea. The very act of explaining yourself is almost always a position of weakness. I mean, this quote just lays it all out there, doesn't it? It's blunt, it's uncompromising, and it really sets the stage for a totally different way of thinking about power in our day-to-day interactions. So, why is explaining so bad? Well, it's because most of us fall right into what you could call the explanation trap. We think we're defending ourselves, but what we're actually doing is handing over all of our power on a silver platter. You know this feeling. I know you do. Someone accuses you of something or questions your judgment, and your whole body just lights up. Your brain screams, "No, that's wrong. Let me tell you what really happened. I need to correct the record." It's this deep, almost biological urge. And that gut reaction leads us to a crossroads. The default path, the one we all take instinctively, is defensive. It's reactive, and frankly, it's submissive. But what if there's another way? A response that is calm, neutral, and incredibly powerful. A response that completely flips the script. Now, here's the really fascinating part. This need to explain yourself, it isn't some personal flaw you have. Nope. It's actually a deep psychological program that was installed in you when you were just a kid. Just think about how this gets wired into us. When you're 5, you learn that a good explanation might help you escape punishment from your parents. Then you're a teenager, and you have to justify everything to fit in with your friends. It's social survival. Fast forward to adulthood, and what happens? We start treating everyone like they're our parents or our peer group, constantly defending ourselves, projecting this authority onto them that they don't actually have. And this quote just nails it. It perfectly illustrates what's happening under the surface. When you're explaining and defending, you're subconsciously casting them as the judge and yourself as the pleading child. You're begging for their approval. It completely undermines your own authority. Okay, so if that old programming is holding us back, what do we do about it? How do we break free? Well, this is where we get to the fun stuff, the practical tools for taking back control. Let's call them the weapons of non-defense. Your first and maybe your most powerful weapon is just silence. But this isn't a passive, pouty silence. Oh no. It's an active, powerful void. When you just look at someone after they've made an accusation, you create this psychological vacuum. They created the tension, and now they have to sit in it. And you know what usually happens? They can't stand it. They start talking again, filling the void, and end up defending and explaining themselves to you. Just like that, the power is flipped. All right, but what if you have to say something? A fantastic technique is to agree and amplify. So somebody says, "You're so greedy, you're obsessed with money." Instead of getting defensive, you just blow it up into absurdity. "You caught me. I actually swim in a vault of gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. It's a real problem for my back." You see? It immediately signals that their attack has zero effect on you. It's a joke to you. You've turned their weapon into a toy. Now, a slightly more subtle tactic is something called fogging. Here's how it works. You agree with any truth that might be in their statement, but you completely refuse to accept the shame they're trying to load onto it. For example, they say, "You're always late." A defensive person argues about the word always, but with fogging, you just calmly say, "Yes, I was late today." You own the specific action, but not the negative identity they're trying to give you. Their attack just vanishes into the fog. It has nothing to land on. So those are some great defensive tools. But what about going on offense? How do we not just deflect, but actually seize control of the entire frame of the conversation? You have to understand this. Every single conversation has a hidden power structure. There's always a judge and a defendant. The judge is the one asking the questions, setting the frame. The defendant is the one answering, explaining, justifying. And the person answering is always the one losing status. So let's go back to our classic example. Someone hits you with that loaded question, designed to make you the defendant. "Why are you always so late?" The trap is officially set. But instead of stepping into the trap and answering, you become the judge. You answer their question with a question that analyzes them. You turn the camera around. "Why does my arrival time affect your mood so deeply?" Boom. See what just happened? The conversation is no longer about your lateness. It's now about their emotional reaction. They are now the one on the spot, the one who has to explain themselves. Here are a few more of these powerful phrases that act like verbal force fields. Things like, "It's interesting that you perceive it that way," or "What makes you feel the need to use labels like that?"
You're acknowledging their words, sure, but you're not accepting their content as reality. You're basically saying, that's a thing that's happening inside your head, not mine.
Now, here's the most important part of this whole thing. None of these tactics, none of these clever lines will work if you're just reading from a script. They have to come from a place of genuine strength. True power comes from an internal shift, from building what you might call the untouchable self. I mean, really think about it. Why does an accusation hurt in the first place? If I came up to you and said, "Your skin is green," you'd just laugh, right? It's absurd. An insult only stings when it touches a wound that's already there, a secret insecurity, a part of you that's afraid the accusation might actually be true. And that leads us to the absolute bedrock of this entire philosophy. The ultimate form of defense isn't a witty comeback. It's radical self-acceptance. Because you simply cannot shame a person who has already looked at all their own flaws, their own quirks, their own history, and accepted it all. So to make this real for you, here's a little challenge. For the next 7 days, you are forbidden from explaining yourself. That's it. If you're late, you just say, "I'm late," period. No story about traffic. If you spill a drink, you say, "I spilled it." No excuses. And if someone misunderstands you, you let them. You just sit with that discomfort. Watch what happens when you refuse to play the defendant anymore. Because ultimately, all of this, it comes down to a choice. It's a decision about who you want to be and how you want to move through the world. It's about taking back your own authority. And so the real question I want to leave you with is this. Are you done being the prey?